Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. With the news that target ally skills are coming into the game, particularly with Spectre, it got to thinking, how would this perhaps be implemented into other classes and elite specializations? So in this video, I've created a bunch of tooltips, and I'm going to go over them for a couple of the classes and further elaborate upon this possibility of seeing more single target support and healing skills. So I guess we shall first start with Elementalist. First and foremost, this isn't actually a healing one. It's Arcane Power. Currently, Arcane Power will give an area of effect increase to ferocity and guaranteed crits to everyone. And it's really strong on yourself, but not necessarily for allies, I think fairly, because it affects 5 allies. But if this happened to be a single target skill, what could this look like? Well, ally target. Perhaps it would enhance an ally with arcane power, increasing their critical strikes and the damage. Using this skill, however, could possibly increase the cooldown as it's pretty high value. So instead of just giving 2 stacks, you would forego your own stack and bolster up one particular individual to increase their ferocity by quite a bit and giving them 5 guaranteed critical strikes. If anything, this would increase the cooldown by like 5 seconds. Next up, we have Water Blast, the Staff Water Attunement. Now, Scepter on Spectre can give barrier. So I was like, hey, there's a bunch of auto attacks, kind of like with water attunement would be very fitting. So I've created an ally targeting one. Perhaps this could function as you cast a bolt of healing water on an ally, and it will heal them for larger amounts, and it will heal them even greater amounts if you are past a certain range threshold, really playing into that long-ranged single target healer. So perhaps it does just like, right now it does 300 healing to allies, 370 actually, so I think bringing the AoE pressure down a little bit, just to 300 healing, could be maybe smart. And then the target ally, if you just use single target functions, the healing could go up to 500, and then if you're beyond 600 range, where you're really getting that value out of the maximum range of the staff, it goes up by another 100 or so. So next we have another Elementalist ability on Scepter. We have Water Trident. Cast a Water Trident that damages foes and heal allies in an area. For a specific ally targeting function, we could launch a Water Trident towards an ally, granting a stronger heal and stronger, aka longer lasting regeneration. This would give the Scepter maybe a little bit more focus healing. I know that the Water Trident is already kind of okay. I was also wondering, could ice shards function differently? Could ice shards, in fact, give slight barrier? Because I feel like Scepter could use a little bit of love here and there, but I wanted to focus a little bit on the Water Trident. Next, let's actually go into Mesmer. We'll kind of do the light armor first. So Mesmer, I was thinking Ether Feast. Ether Feast is a healing skill that doesn't have a category right now. So I gave it a category as I think it's long overdue. Illusion, heal for each clone active. This is the very first function. And then summon a phantasm to heal you, which then it becomes a clone. So you're not getting the healing per clone when you use this because of the phantasm. The phantasm will trigger afterwards. However, additionally, and pointedly about this entire video, ally targeting could be a function on this where you target a phantasm to focus on an ally. You will still heal for each clone active, so you're not losing that aspect, but you'll summon a phantasm to aid an ally, healing them, and then it will become a clone later on. So this would be a very focused heal that a Mesmer could get access to. Mesmer right now doesn't have a lot of focus or group support other than like Necromancer boon support. So perhaps Ether Feast, if you summon a phantasm to be kind of like that medic for an individual, you know, you might be able to create some interesting builds with that. And then next we have Winds of Chaos. Winds of Chaos is the bouncing projectile auto attack on staff. Now I didn't want to just do another thing where it's like give healing or barrier. So I wanted to mix this up a little bit. For an ally targeting, perhaps Winds of Chaos would send energy to an ally, granting them boons. It's just a straight up boon generator. So the Fury would last for about 3 seconds. Interestingly, I think it would be cool if you got rid of the Might on this and just did the Resolution. That would still incentivize you to every so often focus on enemies to get the bouncing application to apply that might. But if you want maybe a little bit more defensive options, maybe in competitive modes or even in PvE, getting that resolution can actually be pretty nice. It reduces condition damage, so slightly a little bit more defensive application I would like to see. Next, we're talking about Necro, and specifically from Necro, Scourge. Serpent Siphon is one of the weirdest skills on the whole kit because there's no other pickup mechanic on this elite specialization. And I've come up with many different ways to change this where it's just like a linear road, a spell effect that, you know, damages and barriers allies. But now that we have a single target application, I think Serpent Siphon would actually maybe do a little bit better this way. So punishment, send a ghastly serpent towards your foe, dealing damage, poisoning them. Convert a boon, you know, as a punishment normally does. Now, it's actually an ammunition skill. So you'll have 3 charges of Serpent Siphon with an ammo recharge of 25 seconds. I've increased the poison application on the damaging aspect because it loses a little bit of that AoE potential. However, you'll now have a little bit more straight up access to ally barrier. One weird function with this was that even if you struck enemies and the barrier orbs spawned, a lot of the times allies don't necessarily notice them, so they'll even run around them or forget that they're there and accidentally run into it. It doesn't feel like a super satisfying support skill to use unless you're like in comms telling people to pick them up. So if you had a little bit more agency as a Scourge support yourself, you could then reselect to an ally to send out a serpent to apply barrier and then cleanse the condition into regeneration. So that is a little bit of a different aspect that we don't have on Serpent Siphon right now, is a guaranteed cleanse condition on an ally and a little bit extra regeneration application. So I would really like to see all of these. I mean, once again, I did kind of make them, so of course I kind of like them. So next up, we have Medium Armor Ranger. Now this in particular, Druid. I like this. I like a lot of these ideas with single target. I think Druid could see a lot more reworks with single target healing, as it's kind of fallen a little to the wayside of not being a great AoE healer. And there are other classes that do it a little bit better. Might stacking isn't necessarily exclusive to Druids anymore. Other classes can bring that. But perhaps if they were really strong single target healers, we could see that. So for Druid, I'm going to talk about the Celestial Avatar form first. Cosmic Ray, I don't feel is a spell that is used too often because the Seed of Life has such a short cooldown. You're using your 3rd ability, your 4th ability, your 5th ability. Celestial Avatar form doesn't really last all that long. So I would love to see a little bit change to the duration of Celestial Avatar and maybe even upkeeping it when you're healing allies actively. But that's another topic. But in terms of Cosmic Ray, the auto attack in Celestial Avatar form, it does an area heal at a location, but it's so small and it's really difficult to actually kind of pull off. This would maybe function better if it had the option to target an ally where it would instantly heal them and more reliably heal them. So call down energy on an ally, giving them a stronger heal, and additionally, it guarantees might. You don't have to take Grace of the Land to give might stacks. However, taking Grace of the Land would increase this to 3 might for 12 seconds. So it's a little give and take. Would you want to take Lingering Light for even stronger heals with the auto attack? Or would you want to take Grace of the Land and really bolster up one target with like really quick 25 stacks of might? Or once again, use the other abilities to give AoE might. Next with Druid, we have the Staff. Solar Beam, this is the auto attack. Keeping the functionality, of course, but now you could maybe target an ally where you have more consistent single target healing, 3 pulses with a stronger heal, because right now the healing on the auto attack is only 66. Because this isn't a projectile, I see why it would be a little less strong. However, if you could target one ally, you know, just increase the healing by kind of like double. Instead of 66, it's like 115, 120 around there. 3 guaranteed pulses at a range of 1200, I think is pretty strong. So I would think this would be really interesting in PvE and strike missions, of course, if tanks were a thing. You know, look out for that video. But in PvP as well, to really bolster up one important target. Next, we have Astral Wisp. Now, Astral Wisp, I like in terms of its combat function currently. It heals melee targets. But I think staff could use a little bit more love. So what I've done is I've given Astral Wisp 2 charges on a recharge time of 8 seconds. Now you can actually target an ally where you'll call down Healing Light, giving them a stronger heal. It's no longer a projectile if you target an ally. It's an actual straight up, long distance, powerful heal where you don't have to worry about a projectile deflect or destruction. It just automatically heals them, being a bit more on demand. While if you want more AoE access, maybe some slight damage as well, you can still apply this to an enemy and then getting that melee functionality out of it. But of course, with all of these, a lot of the AoE I feel can be toned down now if we give them these options. But next up, we have heavy armor professions. I'm gonna talk about Guardian first. So first and foremost, we have Guardian. Merciful Intervention, I think nothing really needs to change here. It should just have an interesting skill fact of if you have an ally targeted, it will automatically use it on that particular individual. It could just be like a quality of life update for the skill. Next, we have Guardian Staff. We have Bolt of Wrath. If you target an ally, it sends healing to an ally, 100. Searing Light does the same thing, but a little bit stronger, 130. And then Seeking Judgment is the final auto attack chain. This will send an orb directly to a specific target ally, healing them for a little bit more, but extending a random boon by half a second. So staff kind of already functions with concentration traits and providing those boons. So this kind of plays a little bit into that as well. A little bit stronger healing, definitely not the most healing out of the potential like auto attack heals on certain classes, but it's a little something, but the strongest effect I think would be the extension of a boon. Next up, we have Shelter. Now, Shelter currently does not have a skill classification. It's nothing. It's not a shout. It's not a signet. It's just nothing. So I think that similar to Mesmer's Ether Feast, we should probably classify it as a consecration. Non-target ally effect is the same. Block attacks and heal. This portion of the skill would not interact with the consecration trait that Guardian has. However, the ally targeted function could. So if they wanted to do this, I think it'd be really cool where you heal yourself still, but you grant protection to a specific ally, and at that target's location, you leave a small consecration at their feet. Staying inside of it reduces damage. So I imagine like if you're playing maybe a tank or a bruiser or even a healer, if you still heal yourself, you'll give protection to an ally, and then around that ally's location, they and allies will reduce strike damage, being a little bit more of that proactive healer where you are maybe preparing for a big strike or just popping this down frequently to give yourself, your secondary healer, or any other support a little bit extra ease into recovering health and etc, etc. So Shelter, I would love a little bit of love. Similar to Ether Feast, I think that'd be really cool. So next up, Ventari, Revenant. I think Ventari's tablet is really great AoE. It's really, really strong. But if they just gave a little bit more love to Revenant, particularly with Ventari with single target, I think this would really make it an even more interesting profession and a more interesting legend. So we have the tablet. The tablet would still work the same, AoE healing around it. But let's talk about the actual tablet skills, the tablet utilities. We have Natural Harmony. In this case, if you target an ally, it will only heal them. Focusing on an ally, Ventari's tablet will envelop them in healing vines, providing a stronger heal and guaranteed alacrity. Using this function increases the energy cost of this skill by about 5 energy. So this is where we kind of have that like classic MMO trade-off. Do I want to use heal or like area heal, healing circle, and you know, get more access to everyone, still deal a decent heal of 1000? Or do I want to use like a flash heal and have a little bit more energy cost, but it does stronger healing and importantly gives that individual alacrity? And then this isn't even talking about the Serene Rejuvenation trait. If you take the Ventari trait line, you'll now give a specific target 6 seconds of alacrity, which could be really interesting in a raiding situation where you're on comms and your big DPS teammate is like, hey, start pumping alacrity on me so I can do this strike again, like Blade Sworns or something along those lines. And that could play into some really interesting like burst, you know, specific support builds, not just for a tank, but also for like DPS characters and condition damage characters, or even like focusing on your secondary support, your other healer, or like other support to reduce some of their really strong healing cast times. So I like this idea of flipping the Ventari's tablet to also have single target abilities. Next, we have Protective Solace. Ally targeting. Focus on an ally. Ventari's tablet will envelop them in a protective bubble while granting them protection. This skill increases energy degeneration. This is your upkeep skill on Ventari. Currently, it just creates a 240 radius of projectile destruction. If you target an ally, I'm wondering, what if you give them a mobile projectile destruction light field? I think that'd be really cool. So while this is active, every 3 seconds you'll apply a little bit of protection to them as well. But they become a much smaller projectile hate bubble that is much more mobile. In case you are focusing on a particular ally or someone is going to take a lot of projectile damage from afar, you can cast this onto them to block that one specific projectile for them, to where you don't have to wait for the tablet to move or on cooldown, etc., etc. And it's a little bit more on demand. But then again, you're not getting that actual bubble effect of it. So it's only really that specific ally and maybe like one other ally next to them on a 5-second cooldown. So like it is interesting, I think. And then Purifying Essence. This one's a little less imaginative. It kind of just is very much cohesive with what it already does. And for ally targeting, instead of just an AoE cleanse with heal, if you specifically target an ally, it will not only cleanse their conditions, but convert those conditions into boons while healing them for a little bit more. So instead of 300 healing per condition, it's 350 healing per boon applied to them via this method. Additionally, this would cleanse 3 conditions and convert them to the proper boon. So that's kind of my roundup of possible ally targeting support skills that, you know, I would like to see. Freely take these, ArenaNet. Test them out, experiment. Have another beta even after End of Dragons where you might want to test out some extra support and ally specific targeting heal and buff skills. I think this would be really awesome, and it would really spice up a lot of gameplay, particularly with these support builds and support classes that we've grown accustomed to. This would add a really interesting decision making for supports. It's no longer just and press this healing skill and press this healing skill. It's now going to be, oh, do I want to press this healing skill or do I want to give this to an ally for a stronger effect? Ooh, but it has a little bit longer of a cooldown, or the skill itself already has a long cooldown. So you have to kind of make these decisions. I think that'd be really interesting. Comment down below your thoughts about single target ally targeting heal and support skills. Do you have any other ideas for ally targeting skills? I would love to hear them. Subscribe, like, comment. If you'd like to pre-order End of Dragons, I have links down below. And if you'd like to help support the channel and get early access to these videos, you can hit me up on the Patreon. I'd like to see you there. So thank you everyone once again for coming along, and I will see you in the next video talking about tanking. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.